Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Popcorn Watchlist podcast, where we discuss and celebrate our favorites in TV and film. I am your host, Xavier, and on this special episode of the Popcorn Watchlist, I have the distinct pleasure of talking about one of my favorite movies of all time, really. And I'm really excited to talk about this movie with my fellow Popcorn Watchlist panelists. I got Danny, Anthony, and Zach. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
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 And if you have been following along with our recommendations list, last time I dropped one of the colossal, movie greats of all time for this week's episode. And I'm really glad and proud to have chosen Forrest Gump as to this week's discussion. As someone who really loves, really got into history, from watching a lot of various different things as a kid, growing up, and then, liking the subject in school, it was really interesting going into even high school and into my P exams and for American history and thinking to myself, hey, if I ever need a crash course, I can always just watch Forrest Gump. You have Forrest Gump meeting a few presidents. He goes through all these different moments in time from the 50s into the 80s. But it's also a really great movie. And when I was older, I found out that the same person who directed this movie also directed Back to the Future, one of my other all-time favorite movies that I would watch over and over and over. And, as I've gotten older, really into getting into movies, it's been a very interesting revelation every time I rewatch the movie, finding small details, looking at and seeing certain plot points in the story from a different perspective as I've gotten older with a better kind of lens on certain things on that happens and how certain characters' motivations for doing things. So it's partly the reason why I wanted to pick it and talk with you guys today about it. The other half was because I ran a half marathon and I couldn't stop getting the running montage from this movie out of my head. And it really helped me through the rough couple of miles towards the end. But
it's a good running montage.
Yeah, and it's a whole, we'll get into the whole aspect of that, how that part gets to the moment in the movie, but I kind of want to throw it to you guys. It's one of my favorite movies. We've all seen the movie before. What were your first experiences with Forrest Gump? Let's go with Danny. Zach goes first.
Okay. So, my first experience with the movie wasn't even the movie itself. It was eating at Bubba Gump Shrimp Co.
I was going to say
restaurant.
In fact, I've yet to have eaten at Bubba Gump Shrimp.
Me too.
It's actually pretty good. I mean,
they always play the movie there. They have the movie playing all the time.
As they should? I don't understand why they wouldn't.
Why wouldn't you?
Is that when I go to Sushi Maki, they're always playing some Japanese movie or anime movie? It's the
I think one time I went to Sushi Maki, they were playing a Godzilla movie. But so Bubba Gump plays Forrest Gump on loop. Okay. Yeah, did they play the cable version, the one that's I always find on TNT or TBS or whatever?
I don't know. I didn't even know that they played the movie.
Wow,
that's something Danny, I guess, has seen or has noticed.
When I went to Bubba Gump's long time ago, I think that's where my parents took me and they were like, oh, it's from the movie, and I was like, oh, okay, and they're like, the movie's playing, so I knew parts of the movie from there, and then obviously eventually I saw it. But yeah, first encounter was through the restaurant.
Wow, from the restaurant. Okay. What about you, Anthony? I don't know, it's probably a movie maybe you saw in theaters?
I did not see it in theaters because this came out in 94, so I would have been 7.
I think 93, I think.
Yeah,
93?
something like that. I would have been 7 or 8, and I...
Oh yeah, 94, sorry, mid-94.
Definitely remember, I think probably my parents or somebody rented it, probably from the Blockbusters, if anybody's listening knows what I'm talking about.
Blockbuster. What a time.
And so I think it was they were watching it and I sort of was there kind of watching it. And, this movie was PG-13 and I wasn't 13. So it was one of those oh, maybe I shouldn't be watching this. But I clearly remember, I really remember the first, maybe 45 minutes of this movie, pretty vividly. I don't know why. I think it's maybe because, like you say, they show it a lot on TV. And so anytime I would catch it on TV, it would always be from the beginning. So I'd always rewatch the same parts. But yeah, I think I saw it in pieces when I was younger, when my family first rented it. And I think just over the years, I watched it in pieces on TV, and then I think like at some point when I was in high school, I finally saw it again, but like in completion during one of these like substitute days where we had nothing to do. But yeah, it's a great movie. Very good pick.
Yeah, it's I again finding out more and more about the movie again, just as a teenager, just knowing, oh, this movie's great, and then I never knew until like I was in college that it was based off a book. The book, he does other wild stuff, like I think he goes into orbit with an orangutan or something. He also is like a professional wrestler. There's a lot of other wild
everything.
stuff that Forrest Gump gets into. Yeah, like, but it's cool that the movie, they kind of toned down a bit of the, you know, kind of unbelievable aspects of Forrest Gump, and then gave it to like, yeah, it's still a little unbelievable, like he's a ping pong savant, or he is just, you know, really good at a one singular action, and amongst other things. But it kind of like got him through a lot of things where it's like by chance, but also through his own ability. It kind of sets the rule that, forgive me if this sounds a little crass, but have you ever seen Tropic Thunder, where Robert Downey Jr.'s character says you never go full retard? Mm-hmm. So he's like that. I think one of the references he makes is Tom Hanks and Forrest Gump, of like, you know, why it works, because he's like, you know, just under, not so much mental retardation, he's just, you know, under the IQ spectrum, as we saw in the beginning of the movie, where he wasn't allowed to go to normal public school because of his IQ bracket.
Right.
But
it's because he could do all that other stuff.
Yeah, and as like, yeah, it's great because you see him as sort of like this mild-mannered man just waiting on a bus stop. The opening sequence, by the way, is really nice. Like, the stuff they had to do with that feather was, it's nice. Obviously, the music, it's done by Alan Silvestri, who is Robert Zemeckis' music guy for a lot of his movies, and it sets up everything perfectly to his recollection of his entire life. And we go through everything that got Forrest Gump from him as being born, where he got his namesake, all the way to where he's at that bus stop on the bench, eating some chocolates, sharing his story.
The
Because you
chocolates
never
that
know
are
what you're gonna get.
the chocolates that are a gift.
He
I love
eats
that
through
part.
them. Yeah,
Where
exactly.
by the end of the movie, he like gives her the gift. He's like, I ate some of them.
Yeah, I ate some of them. Like, I love how there's different people on the bench with him that have different reactions throughout his story.
The movie.
It's kind of like he was so focused on telling his story that like you don't see that other people have kind of gone in and out, except for the first lady who's a nurse, where he's like, "Hey, your shoes are great," and her response is, "Yeah, my feet hurt. They're not great shoes."
You can tell a whole lot about a person by looking at their shoes.
That's right. So, since we've seen this movie a lot, like, do you guys have any particular like standout moments, whether if it's funny times he's met one of three presidents, or him as a boy, him growing up, or in college? I don't want to go through a breakdown of everything in the movie, but I'd love to know some of your favorite moments.
I mean, for me, it's definitely the quotes, because one thing that I remember, especially going to the restaurant a lot as a kid, was the waiters would always like do a quiz about the movie, and they had like the same set of questions. I don't know if you ever knew that. Like your waiter.
No, I'm finding out a lot today.
We're going
like,
to Bubba Gump this weekend.
Yeah, you gotta go.
Yeah, we're going to Bubblegum. That's it.
Because I've done the quiz a few times, and answering them based off of just memory of what the answers were the last time that I did the quiz. But you would do the quiz, and if you got like most of them right, you would get like a little prize, and it was like really for the kids.
Do I
right?
get a hat? No, I want a hat.
I don't remember what it was.
And then
but
they also have like a sign of like "Run Forrest Run" or "Stop Forrest Stop," like to call your waiter.
yeah,
That's hilarious.
yeah, that's really great. Yeah, like one of those little small things that this adds to like from the lore of the movie and everything. But like a lot of the quotes, like the one I just quoted a little bit ago with the shoes, you can tell an awful lot about a person by looking at their shoes.
I said, and the thing is, like, Mama played by Sally Field, incredibly by Sally Field, is a like sort of his North Star, like guiding light of who he became as a person, because his mom was pretty awesome, even though she had to make some sacrifices to get him through school and get him through a lot of parts in life.
Yeah, and that quote that was said in past tense, right? Because I don't know if by that point she had already like or I don't know.
Past.
Did
So
not. Yeah.
in 1981, where he's there in Savannah,
Yeah.
he's speaking about the past tense because at that point she had already passed away from cancer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because that was a little tidbit. That was one thing that people always misquoted, where it's people were thinking, oh, life is like a box of chocolates, but life was a box of chocolates.
Yep. Look at this man with the technicality.
Oof.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Some of the quotes are great. Like, and not just Forrest quotes or his mom's quotes. I love a lot of, there are certain things that, everybody remembers the rambling that Bubba has with all the different styles of shrimp.
Yeah.
But, like,
Benjamin Buford Blue. You can call me Bubba.
I always remember, like, his last words that you see on screen with him was just, I want to go home. Like,
Dude,
that always hits, man.
That hits.
I mean, that whole
always
sequence was sad.
Intense, right?
Because
Sad and intense because
saving everybody, and he still can't find them.
he's just trying to find him, and not until like the very end he finds him, and then he barely makes it out.
Oh yeah, like that was rough too, because like that was the time where he ran just before that massive napalm strike that Lieutenant Dan orders. Yeah, like the whole section of Vietnam is really iconic. Like we talk about quotes, like I remember learning this from Forrest Gump, where Lieutenant Dan at first was telling him not to salute because I don't want to get shot, or like you don't want to kill an officer, and also he's like, take care of your feet. Like, always make sure you have a fresh pair of socks. Mm-hmm. Like, that's good life lessons. And I love how he takes a joke. He's like, oh, are you two brothers? He's like, no relation, sir. You guys twins, yeah. No relation. Like, you could tell they were, they went together like peas and carrots. But that was, and like, all the different things with, like it's just... And the way that Bubba ends the shrimp ramble, where he's just like, nope, that's about it. Like he's like, I hit them all.
Yeah, after he's listed like 20 of them, you're like, yeah, that's it.
I love it. He's like, yeah, that's great.
Because where is he from? Is he from? I forgot.
Louisiana.
Alabama.
Louisiana.
Yeah. I figured. I'm sure a lot of like Cajun influence with the shrimp and everything.
The shrimp styles. Every time I watch that scene where they're in basic training, I get so hungry because everything sounds great. You get pan fried, stir fry it. Oh, can we also
stick them in a stew?
No, it's not potatoes, it's shrimp.
Potatoes.
We also have to talk about how, again, like, how growing up, everybody thought Forrest Gump was stupid. Like, oh, are you stupid or something? He goes to the army and he's worshipped by his drill sergeant.
That's the best response I've ever heard.
His responses.
Why did you assemble your weapon in such a fast fashion? Because you told me to, drill sergeant. God damn it, Gump! That's the best answer I've ever given. You're gonna be the general someday, Gump. And like, he even said, like, oh, it's a shame I gotta send you. I would have referred you to officer school, but we have to send you out out the grunt out into Vietnam in '65. Like that was, and like. Just this man is just it's I love that both the sequences of just like, because Zach mentioning Full Metal Jacket and how like scary a drill sergeant is, and you just have like Forrest Gump singular in every action he does, very plain, and he's just like worshipped by this man. It's like, that's a new company record, Gump. It's every time, dude.
Take it apart.
Yeah, I'll take it apart. It's like,
Take it apart and do it again.
Yeah, and that's when, like, Bubba's telling him stuff, and Forrest is like, okay. While he's like, he's paying attention, and Bubba's kind of giving his idea, like, oh, I want to get into the shrimping business one day and kind of go in and make my own thing. And then at the same time, that's when Forrest is like, done, sir, sergeant. So,
drill sergeant.
And every time he's on a bus, that's when he meets, you notice that, like, every time he's on a bus, he meets someone very pivotal in his life. He met Jenny, and he met Bubba.
This seat's taken.
Seat's taken. Can't see here. Man, I want to slap that kid. I was like, there's literally right there. And then, And you get it's fun story. I learned this from watching a little like docuseries on it. I'll go to it later, but Tom Hanks didn't really get the actual inflections and voice of Forrest Gump until they cast young Forrest Gump. And is an unknown kid who never acted before, so he was kind of speaking a little bit like this, and then that's where Tom Hanks took the voice and ran with it, literally and figuratively.
How about
That's pretty cool.
How about
But
you guys know who the actor is who plays his son, right?
Haley Joel Osment,
Yeah, who sees
sir.
dead people?
Forrest
Oh,
Gump
man.
Jr.
Talking like before, like going into I can go into other like the famous historical things. One of the things that now growing up, I get that like I kind of hit me harder now that I'm older. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but when he sees young Forrest, and he's kind of, you can see in his eyes that like he's so happy that he has a son, but like you see a little bit of fear in his eyes where he thinks is like, oh no, is he like me? Mm-hmm. Where he's like, oh, he's kind of playing because worried about people being stupid. And then
that
Jenny's
was the first thing he asked. He said, "Is he smart?"
Yeah, is he smart? And then Jenny's like, oh no, he's so smart. And it's great. Like, he's precocious. He's extremely smart. He wants to sit down and watch Bert and Ernie. So the kid has good taste in TV already. And you could tell, like, just from the way he spoke that, young Forrest is going to be okay. And, like, you could see, like, he's just, I think, adult Forrest being extremely happy. Like, that was really, like, that was really nice to see. And I don't know how if you guys felt
it was wholesome.
or understood that too. It was truly wholesome.
Like the whole movie. Like that's what I feel like. That's the word of the movie. It's just like it's a wholesome movie. I also feel like this is why he won Best Actor, because he did such an excellent job. Like you said, that one scene, you see like the surprise, you see the fear, but I think you even see a little bit of like, I don't know about anger, but like
shock,
maybe
shock,
and maybe a little bit of anger, just because because I think he's like, so like you've had my kid, and you're just like now telling me that I have a kid, like this lady just kept leaving him throughout the whole movie, and that's
another thing. Like as
like
growing up,
so frustrating.
Okay, I want to get your guys' opinion on this, because I think watching this more and more, and now being older, I want to know what your guys' take in the end on like how Jenny, like being with Forrest, but then kind of running away, doing other stuff, and then coming back and then running away. Like overall in the end, like what's your take on that?
I think it's just
very toxic.
Yeah.
Toxic.
I think yeah. Oh gosh.
God.
21st century toxic.
Wait till next week. but
oh boy.
But yeah, I think it has to do with just like her upbringing, and I just think she could not get away with how toxic her upbringing was, and part of her, I feel like, I guess felt like she still needed that no matter how horrible it was. So that's why she'd always run away and go and do the bad stuff, because she needed to like feel that horribleness, even though she knows it's like not good for her. That's why
but then come back for just a moment, and
right.
Then...
That's why every time she would, couple of years, she would see Forrest, she'd be like, I'm not good for you. Like, I know who I am. I'm just like crazy, horrible person. Like she clearly loves him, but she knows she shouldn't stay with him, because that she knows who she is, and she's gonna keep doing that. She's just gonna keep running away, because that's just all she knows how to do it. Or I guess how to live. And yeah, it kind of sucks. It's sad.
Yeah, and you can see it from the beginning too, where like Forrest is, when they were younger and they had his recollection of them as kids. Mm-hmm. All the time she'd want to not be home, or let me stay here for a little longer. Yeah, let's hide in that tall grass where there's no velociraptors in Greenbow, Alabama.
Very abusive.
And
father.
She's very abusive father. She wants to fly far away. And, like, that kind of sets the tone, and, like, that influences, like, Anthony, I think, said a lot of that. Zach or Danny, any other thoughts before I kind of share my things?
Well, because the last time that they get together was it at, like, that club where she's, like, singing naked? Was that the last time?
No, it wasn't.
No, because remember, he went to Tennessee. I think it was in Nashville or somewhere where she was singing. Or she was doing like a burlesque show. She got kicked out of college because she was in Playboy and she wore her college jacket letter jacket while she was on that cover of Playboy, or in that issue of Playboy. Sorry, not the cover. And then that's where Forrest, on his leave, goes to see Jenny, and she's performing under the pseudonym Bobby Dylan from California. I always thought that was funny.
But that's not the last time he sees her before.
No.
Before he does his whole, like...
When he does
after
his
Vietnam.
speech, like
after
this.
Vietnam, no speech.
So that was still early on, yeah.
That's in the 60s?
She ended up visiting him, like, on her own when he already had, like, his nice house and had, like, all this money. She just, like, walked up to the house.
That was
like,
his mom's house, yeah. I think she had just passed away, didn't she?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, his mom had just passed away, and then... yeah, she kind of rolled up in a cab and just hung out with him for quite some time. That was after, like the mid-70s, like 75 or something.
And that was, like, I think the longest they probably spent with each other, because it was just, like, them.
As adults, yeah.
It was, like, them hanging out together for a while. And then once he's, like, marry me, like, he's like, I know I love you. And he's like, I know what love is. Like, he's like, I know I'm not smart, but I know what love is.
That's another very...
That's a good
iconic quote. Yeah, it's a very good quote.
But yeah, she's just like, pretty much like, you don't want me because I'm this tortured, messed up person, and she does it anyway. She leaves him again, like that night. It's like, oh my god, Jenny, what are you doing?
Like,
and every time she goes somewhere, she gets beat up by some guy. It's just like, and he clearly is whooping on these people that beat her up. And, like, he's obviously...
Every time.
Yeah, he's obviously the better man than all these other guys, and then she can't stay away from...
That counterculture guy, like, that was on the bus from Berkeley, then they drove to D.C., and they went to... and I love I'm sorry I ruined your Black Panther party. I love that line so much, because it just... he, like, unintentionally makes a pun. It's so stupid, but he sees that where, like... And what's worse too is that guy's like, you knew I would never hurt you. I'm like, but he did.
He just did, and then he did it again.
You just did.
You just did it.
Yeah, it's like, you just did that, dude. Like, you were just an asshole. So, like, I think again, because of her going into that kind of, she's in the end, I felt that Jenny is she always thought that whenever she was around Forrest, that like he was like she didn't deserve him, that he was like too good for her, and that was like her, like, kind of almost like not wanting to torture her, and like Anthony said, like not wanting to be around and maybe like, you know, be like a ultimate detriment or hurtful to him. But like over the time, I think I've gotten a little like kinder, or felt a little more like compassion for Jenny because of everything she's gone through and all the like other life experiences that took them apart. And her, like, every time she's around Forrest, realizes like, you know, Forrest Gump is too good for me. Like, I can't, like, I don't deserve this. That's why she kept running away. Like, I don't deserve to be with this person. Like, I'm gonna hurt him, but also like because I'm the kind of person I am and I'm damaged goods. Like, I don't deserve to be in this wholesome, loving relationship with a man who genuinely, truly loves me and named 12 boats after me.
So it was just like Jenny 1 through 12.
Yeah, we have like 12 Jennies. It's like, why not? It's so good.
But yeah, like that last time that they were together before she leaves, you know, they made love, and then after she leaves, that's when he starts doing his whole like trek around the world, like of his running, and that was like what, for 2 or 3 years.
He ran around the country for 3 years.
Yeah, and then
that was him grieving for like losing Jenny. His mom had just died.
And then she sees him like on the news, and then she calls him up out of the blue 3 years later, and she's like, "Oh, well, this is your kid." I'm like, "Damn, dude."
Sends him a letter. It's like, yeah. But then also, I think she knew she was like dying, so it's like, hey.
Well, no, yeah,
like,
that's why she called him. So it's like, if she wasn't dying, she would have never told him that he had a kid.
I don't know. I don't think so. I would assume not.
Is it safe?
Especially now she knows that, you know, before she died, I'm pretty sure she found out that, you know, Forrest he's gonna be okay in terms of finances. You know, he co-founded Bubble Gump with Lieutenant Dan. He invested in some random fruit company. We don't have to worry about money anymore. That was so funny. I was like, what?
Is it safe to assume that the disease that she had was probably AIDS?
It's implied to be AIDS. In the book, I think it's hepatitis C.
Oh,
but
because she just said
it's
like the doctors say I have a virus and they don't know like what to do about
where
it.
it came from.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure in the 70s she did a lot of needle sharing with like the heroin and stuff.
She did a lot of
so that
stuff.
could have been it. Yeah. Oh yeah, that Freebird sequence when she's just like kind of sort of high. She's like, I'm just gonna jump now, and then she has that scared version. I was like, oh, like that scene I think has influenced how I hear the song Freebird forever. Like I always think a lot of times at first I think Forrest Gump whenever I hear Freebird, not Guitar Hero 2.
No, for me
Forrest Gump.
it was Guitar Hero 2 or like before Guitar Hero 2, but then Guitar Hero 2 made it like even
For me,
more for me. And then
For me, it's
Kingsman.
Kingsman.
Yeah, Kingsman.
And Kingsman,
That
yeah,
scene is
I knew we
awesome.
were gonna say Kingsman. But yeah, some other favorite moments, Danny. I don't know if you have a rundown of some of your favorites.
Well, we haven't talked much about Lieutenant Dan.
We should, because Gary Sinise is a powerhouse. Again, it's another character that now as I gotten older, I never, as a younger, even in my 20s, realized like the stuff that, or like what Lieutenant Dan kind of put himself through surviving Vietnam, and how he just like hated life. He was like angry at God, angry at the world, mad at Forrest Gump for getting a Medal of Honor for his $1 million wound, being on TV with John Lennon, just like hanging around or whatever, and it was kind of sobering, but it's part of like that whole character arc. So I know you have. I would love to hear more of like your thoughts on Lieutenant Dan.
Oh, and like the quote that I remember the most from him is I think in the boat, he goes, I never thanked you for saving my life, and then just jumps off. But he never says thank you for saving
Yeah.
my life.
Yeah.
It's so weird. And it
And,
made it
yeah.
seem like he was gonna kill himself.
He was
or something.
going
It's like,
to.
Oh my
Yeah,
god!
like
But then he's just swimming. Like okay.
yeah, he shows
I
up in the next scene, and you're like, okay, he's fine, he's fine.
No, like, and like he even says, like, yeah, Lieutenant Dan made his peace with God. Like that I always found, like, I never suspected, like, oh, Lieutenant Dan's gonna finally do it.
No, that's
way.
what I
Like,
thought, because even Forrest saying that, it just shows that he's like swimming into like
Beautiful
the end,
ocean.
the edge of the earth on the ocean. It's just like, so that's just how he's gonna go out, just like swimming to his death. But yeah, and then the next scene they show him, you're like, oh, okay, whoo.
Yeah, he's sitting down next to the radio, and that's when he gets to the next plot point. But I thought, yeah, like that never crossed my mind.
And I think when Tom Hanks has the boat and he's going through the docks and he sees Lieutenant Dan and he just jumps off with the boat moving.
How does the
I
boat
love
turn
that
back
scene.
around
Yeah,
and then
did
run
a
into the
U-turn.
pier?
I thought about that too, watching it this time. I was like, I guess the boat, like, because no one was steering it, it just finally
It just
listed
turned.
back around. Yeah, it turned to like a whole 180. That part, the scene, the shot of Forrest waving really happy. I use that gif all the time whenever like people say hi or something. I just use like the corny Forrest Gump wave. It's so like wholesome. It's perfect. What about also
I love his like mini wave, like when a lot of the times he was on the news, like when he picked the girl's book up when she was going to school, and then like he just turns to the camera, and goes, and then like walks away.
dude? Oh,
I love all the
I'll get-
awkward, like funny, like he's just in the background
Sticking his
somewhere.
head. He's like,
I
what's
love
going
the
on?
the superimpositions that they did with actual historical footage. Especially since at that time, the governor was blocking the entrance into the university, because at that time, at least almost until that guy's death, he was very much a pro-segregationist. That guy was like, segregation for now, forever. And that guy was just hella racist. So, yeah, Governor Wallace was pretty much a lot like that. And he, a lot of times, would try to, I think 4 times, I think he tried to run for president. But, and like he said, it's just that, he's like, that man, it's like somebody tried to shoot that man. Somebody tried to shoot him. Oh, almost every political figure that gets mentioned is either like shot and killed or like is an
Shot
attempted
and-
assassination.
yeah.
Like they would show them, and then the scene after, it's like this person was shot multiple times, but they're okay, or they weren't. It's like, geez, like So he
Yeah,
just,
like JFK, RFK.
he's like, oh, he got shot, and then his brother got shot. It must be hard being a brother. It's
Yeah,
it's
I was just
the way
like,
his brain works.
it's sad. And then that helped me again remember like various presidents or other political figures, especially when Reagan got shot. I remember because Reagan got shot, and he also talks about John Lennon getting shot. He's like, he was signing some autographs, and then somebody shot him. It's like, yeah, like he just kind of like remembers that, and it's kind of that's how he processes it. It's like, yeah, this random musician guy I ran into one time on this TV show, he just got shot, or this president I ran into also got shot, and it, like Anthony said, it's very funny, but also interesting to see how his brain works.
And just how many different historical events he's been. It's like
He was in
just
all of
just
them.
listing them, you know.
He was everywhere. Yeah, I love. Oh, we talk about Lieutenant Dan. Like after the montage of like his ancestors dying in every major American conflict, and then like as I got older, I was like, oh, well, where's the Spanish American War? Where's the war against Mexico? Where it's like, oh no, just the major ones.
Yeah, because like you said,
Where's the Korean War? Like I was like, where was that?
when I was younger, I saw the movie, but there was so much of it that I didn't understand until I saw it when I was in high school. And so, like, seeing, like, I didn't connect all the dots when I was 7 or 8, that, like, oh, he's like, in all these major events throughout history, and then seeing that he's, what do you call it, that he went to, first of all, he went to Vietnam, and then when he, like... I lost my train of thought. Like
When he went
I
to
forgot what I was
China
gonna-
doing
Yeah,
ping
okay.
pong diplomacy
and then
with
he,
Nixon.
and then he became like the master of ping pong and all that. Like I didn't realize that. Like part of me when I was younger, seeing these parts of the movie was like thinking that like this guy is real. Like I thought he was real and he like was in all these places. And then not till later when I was older, I'm like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing here.
Okay, yeah, fictional character, yeah. You were cutting in and out there for a little bit, but it was like, oh, is Forrest Gump real? And I think The Matrix was like, no, he's not real.
He's not.
Yeah.
Those
I
ping
remember
pong sequences.
Dude, the man knew how to ping pong really well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I never want to play ping pong because I could never be as good as Forrest Gump. I'm dead serious. I was like, I can never be as, like, any type of good at that game. No way.
Danny
just
and I
like how
have the
he's-
same kind of thought, but with his dad instead of with Danny's dad instead of Forrest Gump.
I just like his introduction onto how to play ping pong. He's like, oh, okay, it was pretty simple, and I just kept my eye on the ball. And
Exactly. You give him one simple instruction. It's, hey, just keep an eye on the ball and hit it when it comes to you. He's like, oh, okay.
it.
And then he's doing party tricks. He's almost like, juggling up onto the board, picked up by himself. I've always wanted to do that, be able to like take two and just like smack them all over and back and forth. It was so cool to see. And it actually played into Richard Nixon's like ping pong diplomacy he did with China, because that was the first time that communist China and the U.S. had any type of actual diplomatic relations, and they used ping pong to get into that. And that was a fun way to make Forrest Gump
Ping pong.
inserted into that. Ping pong. You've ever seen Balls of Fury? And
I haven't seen that movie in a while. Ooh.
what else? There's a lot of these other little mini things that like popped up that I really like. Oh, okay. We talked about Lieutenant Dan. Of course, like he goes through his major arc. The couple lines that I remember from one is that when Lieutenant Dan's just like distraught in the recovery, Forrest gets his ice cream and he's like, Lieutenant Dan, ice cream. I say that every time whenever I go out with family to ice cream. Like I have like their ice cream, like Lieutenant Dan ice cream. Just puts it in his pan. And even the scene where like in the middle of the night he just drags Forrest down and he's just like, you cheated me, and like you could see like he's like half of it's to realizing like I'm mad at Forrest. No, now I'm just mad at like the world, and I'm mad at other things that brought me here, and I had a destiny, I had a plan, and that whole plan's gone to poop. And it took Forrest still believing him, and actually Lieutenant Dan keeping his word, saying, oh, if you become a shipping captain, I'm going to be your first mate. And he lived up to his end of the bargain, and it took a hurricane to help him realize the value that he's still alive, and there's still something he can do.
And then they got rich.
and then they got rich. It's like, well, why don't you ask your God and go to church? And I love Forrest Gump in church. He's just like trying to sing along.
And Lieutenant Dan's in church, like smoking.
And no, he's drinking a bottle. Like he's just just fully in there, and it's just like whatever. And then the hurricane hit all the other.
In a way.
In a way, it did. Yeah, all the other boats got wrecked except theirs.
Yeah, the scene at the end where he shows up for the wedding. That hit hard.
Got his space legs.
Yeah, he got his legs. I was like, oh man, clean shaven. He's
Yeah.
like a whole new man. But yeah, that
Yep,
was...
and he's like, "This is Susan, my fiance," and he could tell he's just like happy. And Forrest again is happy. He's like, "Oh my god, I love seeing Lieutenant Dan back. Like it's there." And
You could see the emotion in Forrest's face, and
how he expressed his emotion. I think that was really cool. Let's see.
I like one of the scenes on the bench while he's telling the story. That one guy's like, "Wait a minute, so you're telling me you're the owner of the Bubba Gump Shrimp Company?"
Corporation.
He's like, "Yes, sir."
Who is sitting next to a millionaire? And then he leaves, and then that old lady, the older lady, very nice lady, expresses her interest in the story. You tell it the story so well. I loved your story. And then as the end goes, "Do you want to see pictures of Lieutenant Dan?" And it's a cover of Forbes or like Fortune. And it's like, yeah, I'm that guy. Like, everybody remembers Lieutenant Dan, but he's that guy. Let's see, I'd be remiss.
I like a lot of the montage running sequences, like from the beginning, and then I always liked and remembered the when he's playing football, just give him the ball and like go, and he just runs. And I love the first time
he
goes the wrong way, and then he goes this way, and then everyone's saying go that way, and he just doesn't stop, and then like he runs into the marching band.
He scores a touchdown and he just keeps going.
They had to invent the stop sign for him.
Yeah, the stop.
He's like, he's a stupid sumbitch. This is the stupidest sumbitch ever. The iconic scene of young Forrest Gump. Like, I never understood that. I love the line where the family doctor, tells Forrest's mom that we have to have the braces on your legs because, hey, your son's legs are as strong as an ox. Like, they're as strong as they can be.
It's just that his back.
And, the strongest I've ever seen. His back is as crooked as a politician. I love that line.
And then he sees that doctor, like, way later when his mother's feeling sick, and he's like, "Hey, look, we fixed you right up." It's like, you didn't do anything.
Yeah, he's like, "Fixed you right up." Exactly. He didn't do jack. Get out of here. It took bullies to have him to break his legs and finally, go plow through and realize that Forrest Gump has the best legs of all time.
That scene always hurt me when I was a kid because it's like they threw rocks at this kid's face. I'm like, damn, that like it hurt me when I watched it. It's like, man, it looked like a real rock being thrown at his face.
It was for real.
It was a cool scene seeing like the leg braces like break off in slow motion and then kind of like
it was a power moment. And then those kids are just like, we can't catch him. It's like, damn right you can't because you're trash.
And then like
you're trash kids.
10 years later, then they're in a car chasing him and they still can't get him.
Say that again, Danny.
You gotta say it again, Danny.
You cut out a bit. That's all right. Go ahead.
The bit cutting out a bit.
Oh, sorry.
I can't wait for the audio on YouTube or the audio on the podcast app. Just the sound waves gonna come in and just Forrest Gump was a great movie.
That after like 10 years, then they were in the car, like still chasing him in the
truck.
Yeah, in the truck, still chasing him, and they still can't catch him.
Yeah,
who the hell is that? That's Forrest Gump.
They must have gotten like a body double or something because that scene where like the camera's on him and you see him and then the car behind him, and then he like turns to the left. And then when the camera goes this way with the car, he's like way down by the fence.
Yeah.
Like I was like, man, there's no way he's that fast. But
he booked it.
He turned into the Flash. The Flash.
My name is Forrest Gump, and I'm the fastest man alive.
No, it's just like in The Winter Soldier. Steve Rogers turns the corner, and he's already like.
But that's because he's a super soldier.
Forrest Gump is a super soldier.
Exactly.
They use his blood for the serum.
Oh, I also. What do you guys think about how when we talk about how everybody coming through with different suitcases and briefcases and how he met Elvis because he had a guitar case
and he gave Elvis the dancing moves.
The moves.
Dude, Forrest Gump
he influenced everybody. He influenced everybody. And when
Who else did he influence, Anthony?
when he was in the talk show with John Lennon, like while he's talking about his story, John Lennon's just like repeating the lyrics to what song was it?
Imagine.
Yeah, to Imagine. This was like, oh my god, everything he said.
The, the smiley face.
The shit happens slogan.
Yep. Those are cool.
That smiley face was ridiculous. It's just like, there's no way that it looked like that after he wiped his face.
Yeah, I exactly. I was like, there's no way, but also this is freaking hilarious.
He's also
Going about
running
yeah.
for 3 years, so.
I mean, he only stopped to eat or drink or sleep, so he did say that. He's not like he ran forever, ever.
I know, but that's still
Yeah.
still a lot.
It's still a long time, man. The man just only knew to what he could do is to run.
I just like how at the end of the 3 years, he's just like, I'm a little tired.
And
I think I'll go
and the
home
people,
now.
the people following him are like, now what do we do?
You go home too. You should be pretty tired too. Like that one guy is just like, I'll follow you, man. I believe in you. He's just like, okay, I guess. You can just keep running. And reporters that are trying to like stop him, like, what are you doing this for? What are you doing? You know, you're running for the environment, running for whales. You're running to solve world peace. We're running for the homeless. I just felt like running. Like, there's nothing. I just want to run. And especially, I think he ran in the shoes that Jenny gave him. So
Yeah,
those
the
are
new shoes.
those new Nikes, I think, and he's just booked it for 3 years. But
I'm
those
pretty
scenes were
sure-
Just do it.
beautiful.
I'm pretty sure at the Bubba Gump, at least the one in Daytona Beach, which is the one that I've been to the most. I'm
Daytona.
pretty sure they have like a mold of the shoes in front of a bench, so that when you sit at the bench, you can stick your feet in there.
Ooh.
Oh, interesting, but nice. I hope you have socks on. Remember, you gotta
No, no,
protect
no,
your
no,
feet.
it's-
No, like with your
it's-
shoes. Like, it's like,
Wow.
Yeah. It's a mold of like the front part, like the tongue with the front part of the shoe, but then the back is exposed, so you can slide your feet with your shoes on. in there.
Awkward.
I don't know if every restaurant has that, but I mean, Danny seems to know what I'm
I feel like
talking
I've
about.
seen it before, and I haven't gone to the Daytona one, so.
It was
I know for sure the one
uh-huh.
at Daytona Beach had it because I've slid my feet there.
Yeah, you're gonna do it for the novelty. That makes sense. I wouldn't blame you. But it's interesting of a rundown, like just off the top of my head, like all the famous people that Forrest Gump met and influenced. He met Elvis. He met, obviously, we talked about Governor Wallace. He met, and also met the one of the first black students to be integrated into the school. He met JFK, and also because he drank so many Dr. Peppers, being on the All American team. 15, by the way, 15 Dr. Peppers.
They were free.
They were free. He saw that little note and picture from Marilyn Monroe. Then he met.
But he drank
I've
the
got
Dr.
to go pee.
Peppers when he was meeting JFK,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and that's
He's
why he
like-
went to the
like,
bathroom and saw the Marilyn Monroe picture. He's like,
He's like-
how's it? How do you? He'll say, how's it feel to be an All-American? And he goes to Forrest Gump. How do you feel? It's like, I have to pee.
And he's like, "Oh, did you hear that?" He says, "You gotta go pee."
He's gotta go pee. And then he met Lyndon Johnson.
Yeah, Lyndon B. Johnson, then Richard Nixon later on.
But then he also, when he was in the
I like when he's telling the
Washington-
story. He's like, and I had to go to the White House again to meet
Again.
another president again. It's like,
That's when he met Nixon. He's like, I had to go again. When he was in D.C. and they brought him in for the Veterans Against the War and they sabotaged his speech, the guy who liked to say the F word a lot and wore the American shirt was famous
He's a comedian, right?
activist. No, Abby Hoffman. You say he's a comedian because did you watch the trial of the Chicago 7?
yes.
So Sacha Baron Cohen's character is Abby Hoffman, the same guy that Forrest Gump was like, that he brought up, and he goes, Forrest Gump. So, the war in Vietnam. I love watching that movie edited because it sounds like there's microphone issues whenever he tries to say the F word. And that's where the movie gets its one F-bomb. But after that, he met Nixon, he met John Lennon, he met the talk show host, he met, let's see, who else? And then, and then it goes through, like,
He's the one who
Other-
reported on the Watergate.
Yeah, because Nixon's like, you got to stay at my hotel, or you got to stay here, and then he's like, hey, I
He's
think
like, guys with flashlights over there.
my mom can't sleep, and I think they're looking for something. I think you might want to help them out. Like, he was so earnest about that and like wholesome about it. Turns out Nixon was doing some funny business. Thanks, Nixon tapes. And let's see what else. He was, let's see, yeah, again, founder of the Bubba Gump, ping pong diplomacy, Medal of Honor candidate, congressional. By the time he's Apple investor. Let's see. Yeah, it's pretty wild to see, like, again, like what this man's sort of like incredible journey is. You know, just and what a life. And again, like we have to go back to like a lot of the upbringings and things his mom taught him, his experiences with Bubba, Lieutenant Dan, Jenny. I think all that in the end kind of culminates to that. This we've talked about it before, but that 3-year run through like the country. He's like, I'm just going to run around the one end and go back, and it's just beautiful to see like some of the times where he's talking to Jenny about, hey, sometimes when I ran, you could see the reflection of the sky like in the mirror, and you also didn't know at sunrise when, you know, like heaven end and earth began. Like the way he described that as someone who's like stupid and simple was beautiful.
Because part of the run was like, because throughout the movie he was having issues with trying to understand what his destiny was, because he overheard, or not overheard, but he would hear Lieutenant Dan mention that like, you took away my destiny. So he asked Jenny, and I think he asked his mom like what my destiny is, and everyone's you know was telling him like, you know, you have to find it out for yourself. So I think the run was like his version of like, okay, I gotta run and figure out what my destiny is, and it took him 3 years for it.
And coming to terms with it too. Yeah, that's rough. Like at first it's funny because like he's just running everywhere and he just stepped into, wow, it's a big pile of dog shit. Like, but
well,
it happens. Really, like, yeah, it happens. Shit, sometimes. It's almost like Anthony said. Like you have that perspective of just like, man, he's still trying to figure it out. It's a little like emotional, I think, when you think about it. Where it's just like his way of trying to process and figure all of everything that's going on in his life that's happening is from running, and he's just trying to run it out and figure it out. And then he finally gets to Monument Valley, which, by the way, I've never been. Anyone ever been to? I don't know, Danny or Zach. You guys seem more traveled than I am sometimes. Have you ever been to that side of the country and been to Monument Valley?
I feel like I've been close. I don't think I've been
Where is
to
it?
Monument Valley.
It's where it's near. It's like northern Nevada and Utah, or Arizona and Utah.
I want to say like I don't remember. I want to say like either Arizona or like New Mexico. I don't remember.
Arizona and Utah. Thanks, internet. But I've only been in southern Arizona. But that's like I like seeing a lot of stuff like in like people talk about getting the time to go around and see the country. Like we live in a really big country that's very for a lot of variety, and that whole running montage, that sequence, I think, and the running part of the movie really showcases that, where it's like, hey, like there's a lot to see and a lot to do and experience, and you don't have to go run it all, but there's still a lot that you can see. Like a lot of the stuff in the Pacific Northwest, again, running out in the desert, running out into the Northeast when he went to like that lighthouse at Santa Monica Pier, and just everywhere all between. He just, went from running around the street to running around the entire country a few times.
Yeah, and
it's
beautiful.
beautiful.
The cinematography was amazing. There's a lot of really beautiful shots and frames from the different locations he went to.
I'd say I was going to ask either Danny or Zach, but maybe let's put on Zach. Any other like iconic shots or other things that you remember distinctly from the movie?
The water.
The CGI
Yeah, man.
water.
That real water, and they're in Vietnam. How about all that rain?
It was raining sideways.
It had fat rain. It had stinging rain. It had rain just come on up.
I mean, any iconic shots that we haven't already mentioned? I don't know.
Exactly.
I feel like we've covered a lot of them, if not maybe all of them.
Something bit me. I love that scene. Like him getting shot in the butt.
Oh yeah, I got shot on the butt.
In the buttocks. He
It
moons
felt like
Lyndon
a bite.
Johnson.
It just felt like a bite.
I like how the guy in the bench, while he was telling the story, he's like, that thing that bit you, that was a gunshot, wasn't it?
He's like, yes, it was. I love another famous line that Forrest says. They tell him, like, some people are calling it $1 million wound, but the Army must keep all that money because I haven't seen a nickel since. And then I had to look that up again, like years ago, what that he meant by $1 million wound, and it's basically it's a wound that's debilitating, but it's not like it takes you out of combat, but you're not maimed or disfigured from it. So again, getting shot in the butt was like the perfect place to get shot because, you know, it's not like you saw everyone else in the hospital. Like people lost arms. Lieutenant Dan lost his legs. Some people maybe lost an eye, and he got lucky. He's just laying down on that table with a big bandage over his like left butt cheek, I think it was. But I never understood the meaning of that whole $1 million wound until very recently. And there are a lot of things I didn't notice very recently. How about that scene where Forrest's mom has to tell the principal, like, "Oh, there's got to be some way to get my son into normal school."
Yeah.
I never understood that until I was like in my 20s.
Yeah, me neither. I didn't understand that when I was 7, but when I saw it in high school, I was like, oh.
And then he just imitates him as he's walking away.
That's the ultimate bone saw. Yeah, your mama sure does love your school,
like,
son.
You don't talk very much, do you? He's just making the sound of...
the same effect as he was doing. I'm just like, good, because that guy's hilariously crap at it. And the whole idea of vacation, like, Mama, what's vacation? Like, is Daddy on vacation? And what is vacation? It's like, oh, that's what happens when your dad runs off on you. You just go somewhere and you never come back. Notice how Forrest Gump never went on vacation.
He always came back.
Yeah, he never also mentioned like he was going on a vacation or time off or something. Like that's interesting. Like once he learned that meaning of vacation, there was never kind of really used or brought up again, which I always found interesting.
So X, you mentioned that you saw Movies That Made Us episode of this movie. What are some of the things that you found out?
I did. I don't want to run through everything because I would love everyone to go and watch that series. It's a lot of really fun production stories and how these movies actually got made from a production standpoint. I never knew that the movie was initially like around the same amount budget-wise as like other contemporary movies. But apparently $50 million was too much for the studio, which is why then like Tom Hanks and Robert Zemeckis were taking pay cuts and percentages for the movie's profits in order to get the movie made. Initially, also, I think, it started off as a book. There was an initial script by the writer of the movie. Writer of the book that got like optioned, and then Warner Brothers was slated at one point to get it, but then it somehow went over to Paramount. Then there are some interesting stories on like how to get it revised and remade, and how basically they had to amend the contract so that the original writer of the book didn't have a say in writing the screenplay, because every time he wrote the screenplay, it was like, this isn't great, this isn't good or stand out or anything. And Paramount had like a new executive, and the movie was really close to almost like not being made, but Tom Hanks helped sell it and sell the idea. That's something he really wanted to do. Let's see. Then there was the actual like getting into it and making it. Like they knew that Robin Wright was perfect. Like this is Jenny, like 100%.
She was for the role.
She was right for the role, yes. And these guys, you guys haven't seen Princess Bride, so you haven't seen the other things that she was in, that she was awesome about. But
she was in Beowulf, so I guess Zemeckis uses her multiple times.
That's true. Then there is
trying to think of
like a lot of production things, since they actually filmed in, I think it was like Beaumont or somewhere like Beaufort or something in South Carolina. And because of the location, they were able to film actually a lot of the Vietnam scenes there. they were able to also, like I said earlier, that like Forrest Gump, like Tom Hanks didn't have the Forrest Gump voice until they cast young Forrest Gump. The production, and many times they were saying like, oh, this is too much. There's too many things. There's going to be like, they were like threatening to not even make the movie because it was like too expensive. There were another really interesting thing I found out is that the way they shot all the running montages when they didn't have Tom Hanks, they used his brother as a running double, and they flew around different cities in like a secret unit that wasn't reported to the studio so that they can go and film those scenes. Because the studio is like, no, we had to cut out all this running. This running doesn't make any sense. Or to lose the shrimp stuff or lose the Vietnam stuff. Like there was always things that were like, there were a lot of studio meddling, but Tom Hanks and Robert Zemeckis and some of the other production staff said, no, we're going to make the movie we want to make. And then also that there's a story on how they got to get all those licensed songs. It was like, no, it's too expensive. There's no way we're going to get the music. But they made a cut of the movie with the music already in there, unauthorized, to the point where since it worked so well, it forced the studio to say, no, we have to pay for the rights to these songs because it just works. It's too good. Let's see. And then...
Do you have all the songs that are in this movie?
I'm not going to go through all the songs, but there are
There's
about...
like 30 or something like that.
Dude, there's 31 songs. Like, there's no way I'm going to go through all of these. Like, I mean, we talked about some of our favorites, like Freebird. I think I also mentioned...
Pretty much all the standard 60s type songs that you would hear during
all the Vietnam War ones.
Yeah.
I forgot if it was when he was playing, like, twice. They had Hey Joe. I think they were playing Hey Joe when he was in D.C. in the Black Panther Party.
They had All Along the Watchtower.
Yep. If you get a CD of the album, there's like... Holy crap. There's like 36 tracks in this entire thing. So, yeah, obviously you have Elvis with Hound Dog.
A lot of needle drops.
Oh, yeah. But, like, they work. They work. California Dreamin' by the Mamas and the Papas works because Jenny's whole counterculture experimentation. I love, they do back-to-back Doors songs. And then also, I forgot if it was in DC, but they play Mrs. Robinson by Simon and Garfunkel.
Mm-hmm. Not bad.
And let me see. What else? Let's see. 3 Day Women. Respect by Aretha Franklin. Oh, yeah. The San Francisco song. I left my heart in San Francisco. There's so many. Like, they have this... Again, I think this movie, when you think of needle drops, this is the quintessential needle drop movie. Jenny came back. They played Sweet Home Alabama, which I thought was funny.
Alabama,
which is a second Skynyrd song. Like, I know that there's two of them. That and Freebird, obviously we talked about. But any other songs that you guys liked, enjoyed? Because I kind of ran through a whole bunch of them.
I think you got the main ones.
No, okay. You guys didn't like called "Go Your Own Way" by Fleetwood Mac?
Yeah.
Again,
that
part of the running montage.
For a little bit.
Yep. What else? Let's see. Again, they did "On the Road Again," which I thought was funny. But honestly, we talk about the needle drops, but how about that score? Before we kind of go through the wrap up.
I mean, Alan Silvestri he knows how to make music.
Even from just like the opening sequence, like with the feather, like following the feather, like you could already tell like the wholesome like score was gonna come in.
Yeah, even the main the Jenny like love theme is always beautiful, and the other music from like when he runs, it has like that kind of like brass fanfare. You know which one I'm talking about? The one that's like ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-ba-ba-bum. Like that one's like super duper inspiring. Like you can do anything. You can be motivated to do anything when you hear that music. I don't know how you guys feel. That's just me. It's that good. Let's see here.
For What It's Worth. That was another one that they played during the war sequence.
That's right. Yeah, they play Fortunate Song. What's the other? Gosh, there was another. Yeah, there's usually another one. Like, no. Was it Snoop Dogg Beat? No, yeah. Anyway, yeah, you're right. For what it's worth, is a good one.
Against I think when he was finishing his run.
Yeah, that's at the end. Bob Seger. That's where he's at Monument Valley. But yeah, guys. Any other lingering thoughts or anything else I other missed? There is one scene I always found funny.
I don't think we mentioned the Oscars that this movie won.
No, we didn't. We didn't pick up the awards. Want to do a
I'll do it really quick.
Let them know.
This movie won 6 Oscars. It won Best Picture. It won Best Actor for Tom Hanks. Best Director Robert Zemeckis. Best Writing Screenplay based on a previous material. So I guess now they call it adapted.
Adapted screenplay.
And
Yeah.
it won Best Editing and Best Visual Effects.
Yeah, dude. Lieutenant Dan's legs.
And
That's another thing
and
how
the
they
ping
talked
pong
about.
balls. The ping,
Oh yeah,
CGI
and
ping
the
pong
feather.
balls.
Hell, even the practical effects. Like one of the things I found out from watching Movies That Made Us is that the big napalm drop scene, like they only got to do it and blow up a forest one time, and everybody's ready, tense. They finally film the scene. It's great, and then Robert Zemeckis comes out from the bathroom, missing the entire thing.
That sucks.
That's awful.
The
but-
disappointment.
Yeah, but we got a really kick-ass scene. It's still really good. Let me see. Yeah, that movie. I think Tom Hanks was starting to do more like dramatic stuff. So he had done Philadelphia before this, until then him going now into Tom Hanks. Like you could tell his comedy chops are still in place because again, like there's so many different subtleties, nuances, range. His timing was just spot on, and Robin Wright, like it cemented her as just a really strong and powerful actress beyond being just like the darling from The Princess Bride. It really launched, I think, Gary Sinise's career. I think like it kind of made him pretty significant after, because he did, I think, of Mice and Men that he had done and directed, and then at that point, just they called him up to audition for it, and he got Lieutenant Dan, and that's a career-defining role. Originally, I think Kevin Bacon was going to be Lieutenant Dan, but he turned it down. Funny enough. I don't
That
know.
would have been interesting to see that, actually.
Right? In a different world, we'd have Eric Stoltz as, what's his name, as Marty McFly, and Kevin Bacon as Lieutenant Dan.
That would be pretty crazy.
Another reality.
Because the only thing that I've seen that actor in...
Who,
I would
Gary
say the
Sinise?
only thing I've seen him in.
Yeah, he's talking about Gary Sinise.
What, in
The
the
only- the
Disney
only-
ride?
No, I was going to say CSI New York.
Yep. I thought you were going to say the voiceover for the World War II section of the Howling Commandos and Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Wait, what?
Yes, that's his voice talking about Lieutenant Barnes lost his life during or whatever. Like, yeah,
Really?
that's actually
Okay.
Gary Sinise.
Okay.
I'm surprised you didn't know that. Yeah, like
No,
he's.
I didn't know that.
If you go into his IMDb, like it'll say Smithsonian narrator.
Nah, no. Whenever I watch that movie again, I'm gonna listen out for that because I did not know that.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's a fun little like detail that Marvel kind of knew what they were doing. The Russos knew what they were doing. Like, oh, we need Gary Sinise to narrate some war stuff.
I think he's part of that Mission Space ride in Disney.
Yes, he is because he was in that movie,
Mission to Mars
Mission to Mars.
and Apollo
Also,
13.
Apollo 13, which is funny. It's funny because they talk about like, oh, we can't make Forrest Gump, a part of Forrest Gump, a movie where like Forrest Gump's not going to go to the moon, and then in that show, they show a clip from Apollo 13. It's like, yeah, that's right, Forrest Gump isn't going to the moon because of the Apollo 13 disaster. Anyway, or incident. But yeah, the movie just works. Like, I would highly encourage anyone to, if you want to know more about how the movie was made, there's like a behind the scenes featurette that came out a little while after. But the Movies That Made Us really tells a really fun story, an interesting story about like the hurdles that this movie all went through to get made. Because there were at least 3 times where it was this close to just never being made at all.
Nice.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
It
I
ended up
think,
being a big hit too.
yeah, I read
Oh,
that
yeah.
that the money that Tom Hanks forgoed to like finish the movie and he ended up getting, like you said earlier, percentage on the profits. He ended up getting like 40 million from that percentage. It's like, well,
So it ended up
good
working
deal.
out anyway.
Good deal.
Yeah, and Paramount finally, made definitely a profit out of it. According to this fact, I think it was 66 days to surpass $250 million
Nice.
back in 1994.
That's a
Damn.
big movie.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
On a budget that was originally 55 million.
Yeah. But apparently, despite all of that, Paramount technically considered it a successful failure because of all of the different times that, like, a lot of high fees, like Paramount had losses, I think close to like 62 million. But I guess they realized that, we have to cut better deals and not be like stupid about this because, we can still make great movies like this, but we have to find a way to maximize the profit. So, yeah, don't sympathize with Paramount because, again, if you go through the story, there's a lot of times where there's a lot of almost studio meddling, and we've all seen how studio meddling can kill a movie or kneecap a movie even.
Foreshadowing.
Exactly.
All right, so what do you guys rate it? I think we're all kind of in agreement, but
I don't know if we should even if it's, I don't want to say it's not worth rating. I mean, it did win Best Picture, so it's like you already know the movie's like top tier. So like, if anyone's giving it less than a 9, like, we gotta
Not
talk.
necessarily. There are plenty of winners of
Best Pictures that are 8.
No, that like maybe some people just don't like. Like I know.
Oh, that's true.
I know for a fact, like
Fair
that
point.
movie, like what, that movie Crash, that won Best Picture that year. But I know people that don't like that movie. So I mean, it's all subjective. You never know.
That's
So
true.
there could be people that don't like
Yes.
Forrest Gump, even though, I don't know what's not to like about this movie.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean,
that
at
movie's
least
ever
based
on
on our
TV, I always
conversation
leave
here.
it on at least.
Right.
It's like Independence Day. The movie's on. I'm watching like bits and pieces.
so I recommend our rating is go watch it.
Yeah, it's
And
on,
just-
it's on
just
Amazon
have a
Prime
fun.
right now. You could watch it if you have Amazon Prime.
And
Run to your
Paramount.
streaming service, of Paramount, obviously, because they, fronted the bill for the movie. But, run, Forrest, run to your streaming platform and watch the movie. And then
we
go to
Even if you've
Netflix
seen
and
it.
watch.
Yeah, we all recommend it. I believe we all think it's an excellent movie. I guess we don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to give it a number rating. Just we're all saying go watch it.
So
Zach, any other thoughts?
Watch it again.
Well, okay, because I was kind of expecting like a number rating.
give it.
Only
Let's
because
do it. Give it a rating.
Only because
I'll give it a
like. While I think it's a great movie, I still don't put it up there as like one of the best movies, or like one of the like. I mean, it's an iconic movie for sure, but I would still maybe not rate it as high as you guys would.
Okay, well let's do it.
All right.
Give it a number.
Okay.
Everybody's
You do
different.
numbers.
Man. Everyone's different.
I still feel like there's so much going on.
Soft
at
7,
times
baby.
that- No, it's definitely not worth the 7. It's worth more than that.
7.
It's a really, really hard.
maybe like an
It's,
8.
Soft, asymmetrical, crooked 8.
It seems like you want a soft 8.5.
I'm like somewhere between 7.5, 8. That's where I would normally put it. Like again, it's a great movie, but that's where I would.
I
put
get
it.
you. I get you.
My face said it all, but yeah, you're entitled to that thought, and that's why you're here.
Zach rated it that because Jenny is toxic.
She a toxic hoe.
Wow. She is, as he would say, la toxica.
All right, and then
Very cool.
with that,
Jenny.
Spears toxic. Jenny.
with that,
So from amazing,
I'd give
Danny,
it an 8.5. Okay, if we're
I give it a 9.
gonna do numbers, 8.5.
I said before,
Strong
I'm giving it a
8.5.
9. I'm giving it a 9.
I guess
Tom
I have
Hanks
to give
finally
mine too.
showcased.
I'll go
Yep.
8.5 as well.
All right, there you go.
This is 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9. We did it. We hit the spectrum.
I
of,
believe
like-
that is called a flush, or no, sorry, a straight, right?
It is a
I
straight.
believe it's called a
yes.
straight.
Yeah. We just need a fifth person, and we'd have the full straight.
And again,
Full
I only
house?
mentioned my rating because when you were saying, oh yeah, like if you give it less than a 9, then
He's like,
Good.
oh, that's what I'm giving it.
I was like, oh,
That's
well,
me.
I'm giving it less. I'm giving
Well,
it
you're
less. Like
no one
higher than
except
an
me
8.
will think less of you.
Only
Psych.
less than a 9 of you.
Nice. All right, so Danny, we're talking about swinging of the pendulum here.
Oof.
Tell us what we're going to go talk about next
That's
week.
a false statement. That's a false statement.
So next week,
Just a precursor.
we're going to be discussing one of the best movies to come
Why
out
are
this year,
Are we part of this discourse?
Oh
Why?
boy.
We have to do it, man.
Madam Web.
To do it.
And
Yes.
We
so,
have to do it.
just to give you some
I'm
context,
so excited to trash.
It's
this
part of the
film.
Spider-Verse. We have to do it.
yeah. So,
But it's
Anthony
not.
and I have already seen it, and we've told X and Zach how much they have to go see it, and
Just to-
just
you
to
have to
understand and get to our level of appreciation to this movie.
And enlightenment.
But yeah, we're gonna talk everything about Madam Web next week and get our.
No, continue.
Yeah, just get our full thoughts on this movie. So
For the record, I'm watching this movie under protest.
Under duress.
I do not.
He is forced.
I'm
to
not
watch.
doing this. I will do this while expressing a strong objection to having to put myself through this movie.
'Cause I'm
Just
watching it.
Say you're watching an
tomorrow
Adam
as
Scott
we're
movie.
recording it.
That's
I'm watching the Adam Scott movie. The thing is, like, I have nothing against Dakota Johnson, and like Isabella Merced, this other girl who was in.
Dora the Explorer, man.
You mean Dora the Explorer?
Because I'm watching the movie tomorrow night, but as
Oh,
of
nice.
as of recording, but as this episode releases, I would have seen it yesterday.
You should be
Yeah, I
excited
don't
to
know why I got
bash it.
Celeste Connor confused with anyone
You
else.
shouldn't be excited to
You shouldn't
bash
be
it.
ex-
You should just be excited to like express yourself in the elation of like I don't even know what I'm saying. Like
I
I've
don't even
lost.
think you know what you're trying to say.
Because I don't know what the movie was trying to say. Like, but
His brain span. Let's
pretty
save it
much
for
this is
next
what
week,
you got,
gentlemen.
Zach. You gotta watch the movie while eating popcorn out of that Dune bucket.
Dude, I'll do it.
And then you'll go back and revisit your Forrest Gump rating of 7.5. You know what? This is actually an 8.5
This is
because
actually an
Madam
11 out
Web's-
of 10.
because of comparing it on this Madam Web scale. Anyway, if you guys are interested in hearing our addition to the awful Madam Web discourse going on, feel free to catch into next week's episode. With that being said, we hope you enjoyed this episode talking about one of my favorite movies of all time. If you have your other thoughts or what other things that stand out to you in terms of scenes, quotes, we'd love to hear you, and keep up the discussion over on all of our socials. So you can go on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and also leave a comment on YouTube when our video comes up at the end. And Danny will have posted up some of the, guessing emojis and other polls on our Instagram page. So definitely do your best to go out and participate in those. We love reading the comments and we love seeing the polls. Again, if you enjoyed the episode, please definitely like and subscribe on all of those platforms. We appreciate you taking the time and hearing what we have to say about our favorite movies and TV shows. So with that, until next time, everybody, take care.
Later.
Run, Forrest, run.